Welcome to the Great Divorce Podcast, hosted by divorce financial analyst and retirement planning counselor Andrew Hatherley. Join Andrew and guest experts as they help late-life divorcees build the financial and mental foundation for a meaningful future. There is life after divorce. Now, on to the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great Divorce Podcast. Today, I'm speaking with Nicole Brodie. Nicole is a digital entrepreneur and wellness advocate who grew up in Australia. And Nicole is the mother of three and is certified in health and nutrition life coaching, among many other credentials, which I expect we'll get to in the course of our conversation today. Given that we've only just launched the Great Divorce Podcast, we're going to mix things up a little bit today and turn the tables. So instead of me conducting the interview, Nicole will be running the show. That fills with more than a little bit of trepidation, but hopefully everything will go well and that you'll find the podcast helpful, educational, and entertaining. And we'll encourage you to tune into further episodes of the Great Divorce Podcast.
Thanks.
So let's get started. Hey, Nicole.
Hi, how is it going? I'm so excited to be able to interview you for your podcast with a very important message for everyone, of course.
Yes, indeed. Well, it's nice chatting with you too, Nicole, and I look forward. I'm excited about this and looking forward to getting the word out about the Great Divorce phenomenon and what's going on and maybe help people, most importantly, help people who are going through Great Divorce or late life divorce. So hopefully we can uncover a few gems that will help people today.
Definitely. I'm really excited. And so I have some great questions for you, actually. And the first one is why the Great Divorce Podcast? What brought this all about? Please share it with everyone.
Well, I guess it's part of my DNA that when I experience something or read something that I want to share it with other people. I just, I guess I'm a teacher at heart. And so actually having gone through the experience personally, I've learned quite a bit of lessons about Great Divorce. I would say that professionally, 10 years ago, now I still am a financial advisor, but I went through, I guess it was 52, and that's when I kind of went through divorce. And I thought at the end of the process, boy, there's a lot of things I can help people with here on the financial side, being a financial advisor. And so I earned the credential certified divorce financial analyst and set up another business, a side business called Wiser Divorce Solutions to help people going through the divorce process. Well, a couple of years after doing that, I started reading more and more about the phenomenon of Great Divorce, which, let's define it. It's really divorce for people over the age of 50. And I joke in my seminars that most of the gray in my hair occurred during the process of the divorce.
Yeah.
But so really it's people over the age of 50. But what's interesting is that this is really the only section or area of the demographic that in which divorce is increasing. For most of the population, the divorce rates have stabilized or even shrunk for a variety of reasons. But for people over the age of 50, and now increasingly more people over the age of 65, divorce is a much more common phenomenon. Just to let you know, the statistic here is in 1990, fewer than 1 in 10 people divorcing were over the age of 50. But by 2010, the number had gone up to 1 in 4. And in the subsequent 9 years, the numbers have become even more pronounced, particularly for people over the age of 65, these baby boomers. So
I wonder why that is. I'm just wondering, do you have any kind of research or understanding, or did you ever dig into why because it's a pretty big increase?
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of reasons for it. I think principally divorce culture. In our culture, there's an understanding that divorce doesn't have the stigma attached to it that it might have 50 years ago or even 40 years ago. So people are more comfortable getting divorced. Another important reason for increased divorce over 50 is that the economic situation of women has vastly improved over the last 40 years. I mean, we've got a situation where women can pull the plug on a marriage and not fear that they're going to be impoverished, because so many more have good jobs. Now, having said that, and we can talk about this in a minute, economic concerns are a major issue, more so with women than men, although they're an issue with men too. But certainly the advancement of women has made them more willing to pull the trigger on an unhappy marriage. Of course, very important with respect to the rise of gray divorce is life expectancy. There's a great chance that anybody who's 50 years old today could live to 85. And if you're in your 50s or even 60s, 70s for that matter, and you're anticipating living into your 80s or 90s, you may question whether you want to do it with this person who's not making you happy.
Yeah, 100%. Interesting. So who is this podcast for then? Is it for the gray divorce communities, or I'm not sure exactly how we would define them, but who is the podcast for? People who want to get divorced or divorced people?
Well, I would say primarily it's for people who are either going through divorce, gray divorce, or are emerging from it. Because, obviously when I started my divorce workshop, it was all about educating people and wasn't specifically oriented toward gray divorce. It was just helping people going through divorce and sharing the lessons that I had learned in combination with a family law attorney and a therapist. So it's kind of a general helping people through divorce educational process. But with gray divorce, I think there are a lot of important issues around the late life divorce. So it's really primarily for people either in the process or emerging from gray divorce, but also attorneys can learn a lot more about the issues that family law attorneys can learn a lot more about the issues facing people going through late life divorce. It helps them to understand their clients more. And I think therapists also to understand the concerns of the gray divorcees, both economic and social. It would be a useful educational tool for them. So principally the people who are going through it, and then the professionals that help them, I think. And you could also add perhaps also the children, the adult children of people going through gray divorce, to perhaps get a better understanding of where their parents' mindsets are.
Yeah, amazing. And what is the importance of being educated about divorce? What is the importance of all this?
Boy, how long do we have to discuss this?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's definitely a topic that needs discussion. But what is the main? Why?
Well, first of all, when people get married, the last thing they're going to do is study how divorce works.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
even when you're in marriage, it's rare the person will educate themselves about the process for the purpose of avoiding major mistakes.
Yeah.
And the thing about divorce is it can be such an emotional process that the emotions get in the way of the thinking. And a lot of those emotions, unfortunately, can be exacerbated by people who may have good intentions, but pour fuel on the emotional fires that exist between you and your spouse. For instance, I'm referring specifically to family members or friends, and they may want you to know that they've got your back, and so they'll tell you what they think they know about divorce, but it'll be completely wrong, or it'll just increase your antagonisms towards your ex. So it's interesting in the two things. First of all, in divorce, it's probably the largest financial transaction that's going to occur in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's happening at a time when your emotions are so highly charged.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the worst time to be making important financial choices.
Yeah.
So you want to try and have as cool a head as possible. And that's where I strongly recommend finding a good professional to speak to on the emotional side. And then, of course, finding a professional on the legal side so you don't make big legal mistakes in divorce. And then a professional such as myself, a certified divorce financial analyst, who can help you structure a settlement that's that takes into consideration your future goals, has a financial planning component to it, and also looks at the tax implications of potential settlement, which is not necessarily an area in which attorneys are particularly it's not one of their areas of specialization.
Yeah.
There's a
picture for you or someone like you to take someone who's going through this turmoil and just to take it and give them the clear picture, right? This is basically what you do, actually, right?
Well, with my firm Wiser Divorce Solutions, I work with people primarily going through the process.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with the professionals I work with, both family law attorneys and therapists, we'll discuss with people, the various ways of getting divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important that a lot of people aren't aware of the low pressure or low antagonism ways of getting divorced, like mediation and collaboration, which can be brought in before litigation. Now, obviously, there are some situations where litigation is necessary, and parties are not able to collaborate. But I'm sorry, can you repeat the original question?
I was just asking about how you help people basically see
right.
that.
Okay, so that's the divorce. Well, that's the during divorce process. Now, after divorce, as a financial advisor, I work with people to try and build the financial foundation for a good life after divorce. And there's a financial component to that, but also a psychological component to that.
Sure.
And I spend a lot of time reading various authors in positive psychology over the course of the last several years, and incorporating practices which put me in a mindset to going forward. During the workshops, one of the first things I tell people is that there is, and I think this is perhaps one of the most important things that comes out of the workshops, is that there is life after divorce. That while you're going through it with the emotions so charged, you think the world's going to come to an end and you're going to be impoverished. And in my particular case, the attorney on the other side saying that, I'll be working till, I want to know, it's 90 years old or something.
Oh my God.
Or maybe, to be fair to the attorney, I don't think he said that. I think my ex said that.
Do you feel, can I ask you a question? It might be a bit personal, but
yeah, go for it.
Do you feel that you were educated enough about divorce when you were going through it?
No, not at all. And that's probably one of the principal drivers to starting the workshop, getting the certified divorce financial analyst credentials, and now doing the podcast, is that I wasn't prepared. I thought the worst was going to happen. It didn't. And then afterwards, I had to rebuild both economically and psychologically.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepared for any of that. So I guess the number one thing I tell anybody or I recommend to anybody who's going through divorce is get educated, speak to professionals, because that's what they do for a living.
Yeah.
And divorce isn't simply a matter of signing a paper and splitting up your assets, and with the emotions coming into play, it really helps to try and take a long-term rational view, which is not always easy. There's a saying in the legal world that in the criminal justice system, you see bad people on their best behavior. And so, we've all seen pictures of courts where guys will have hate tattooed on their forehead, but they'll go into court and they'll have their suit and tie, and they'll be, yes, Your Honor, no, Your Honor, to the judge. Whereas in the divorce world, we see good people on their worst behavior. And so I think getting educated up front can help people be a little bit more grounded. I know one of the greatest satisfactions that I get from our divorce workshop when we used to do them live and to a lesser extent on Zoom, but you could see the tension and pressure in people when they came into the workshop. And they had so much anxiety. And when either the attorney or the divorce financial analyst, myself, or the therapist worked through some of the questions they had, you could see a mountain of relief being pulled off their shoulders.
Amazing.
And so,
great mission you're on. And that's what happens, I think, when people go through challenges and adversity and everything like that. That's when your mission kind of comes to life. And that's probably why you've been so successful at what you're doing, because it's authentic and it's coming from a place of love and wanting to help others go through a better experience than maybe what you went through. So you have these amazing workshops. And I just want to ask, why is Grey Divorce really seeing so much growth?
Well, I think, as I said before, not only do we have longevity and the increased economic power of women, but also, as you mentioned, the personal development movement.
Yes.
And I'm not just talking about Anthony Robbins, but we have people like Brene Brown and
I love Brene Brown. Yes, strong, powerful women.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of a fellow by the name of Arthur Brooks, who writes for The Atlantic, and he wrote a book called From Strength to Strength, not so much about divorce, but about kind of a late life renaissance. And, I think I've learned that, as I get older, I've learned to get out of my own head a little bit and think about, and divorce propelled this, was get out of my head and how can I help people work through some of the issues I did? Because, it's not just while you're going through divorce, it's, even for years after, you can feel a malaise or a depression for various reasons that, something didn't work out, you're a failure. Will you ever meet anybody ever again? These kind of issues pop up. And
do you have something right now for someone who's listening right now, who's saying, yes, I'm in that space right now. I'm suffering. I'm depressed. I can't get out of bed. What is a tool that maybe you could share with them?
This will probably sound, what's the word? Prosaic, banal, cliched, but I'll give you an anecdote from my own life. I think it was about a year after divorce. I was still feeling kind of depressed. And I mentioned it to my doctor in my annual checkup. Now, unfortunately, is the tendency among modern medicine, he immediately thought of a variety of antidepressants he could prescribe. Yes,
obviously. I'm sure everyone listening was already
everybody's
solution.
Exactly. And it was almost amusing because I remember saying to him, Doc, don't you think you should be recommending diet and exercise first?
Yes.
And
good idea.
And
right?
He might have laughed. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I self-medicated myself with diet and exercise and sleep.
I love that answer as a wellness coach and mum coach, and that is the best answer. So elaborate a little bit, just like, what did you start doing? What are the small changes you did? Because this is exactly what I think people are missing, right? This kind of education.
Right. I just felt so much better when I incorporated a regime of a good night's sleep, a healthy breakfast, and working out. Now, part of that is building good habits. So I'm a big fan of James Clear's book, Atomic Habits.
Yes, I love it.
And so so I started stacking healthy habits on top of one another. And certainly the sleep, and I haven't used an alarm clock in years. Well, maybe a couple of flights, just not to miss an early morning flight. But I'll go to bed 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'll wake up at 5, 6. Meditation, that's another thing I forgot to mention. I haven't mentioned yet, but I'm happily remarried. And my wife and I just last year took a course in transcendental meditation. And so wake up, meditate, exercise, healthy breakfast. And lo and behold, I ended up losing 16 pounds. And so post-divorce, I'm in the best physical health ever. But as I said to a trainer friend of mine last year, I don't think I could give up exercising. The benefits are terrific physically, but I think just as important are the mental benefits, how you feel after working out.
100%.
You can wake up grumpy, and sometimes I do wake up grumpy. Believe me, life's not perfect. I'll wake up grumpy and say, you know what, I'm going to the gym because I know I'll feel better when I get out of the gym. And my wife's found the same thing. So just those basics, and they're so underrated. I forgot to mention another thing that's worked out very well is intermittent fasting. I find that the quality of my sleep improves tremendously when I don't eat after 4 or 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I do intermittent fasting too. So we have these very aligned things. And I think anyone listening right now, not you mentioned the Atomic Habits book. So I just don't want people to think, oh my God, I have to now intermittent fast, do my mindfulness, meditation, go to the gym, like, oh my God. So maybe someone listening, start with 1. If you are not exercising, go for a walk. If you aren't drinking enough water, just drink more water. So take 1 and stack them. And can they reach out to you and contact you for support?
Most definitely. I mean, a lot of these resources are on my website, both websites, for my advisory firm and Wiser Divorce Solutions, and they'll be in the show notes, and along with my email. So by all means, feel free, and you can always schedule a conversation with me there too. It's funny you mentioned. You're right. All these things you don't have to do at once, and I certainly didn't do them all at once. I know I probably sound a little bit like a person trying to teach someone a golf swing. You need to do this and this and this, and your head becomes a jumble. Just start by getting a decent night's sleep. I think that's exactly.
And it stacks, because someone listening might be going through the divorce and that just is overwhelming, but just that one thing, and like what you did, implementing a few things can really change your mindset and make you happier. And then everything just seems much, much easier to cope with, right? This is what I do with my clients as well. So I think that's amazing that that's what you've done and it worked instead of taking the antidepressants, for you at least. And that's wonderful. And I think the listeners might just get this one piece of information today and take that with them and really help them move forward where they are now. So thank you.
Right. And I'm not a practicing MD. So obviously speak to your,
exactly.
Speak to their, for some people antidepressants may be necessary.
Yeah, of course. This is not advice. This is just our personal experiences. Always seek medical help if you're feeling any signs of depression and things like that. Definitely.
But you mentioned the habits and the building on the habits. It's just a positive momentum that you can build for yourself when you get 1 or 2 things going right, and both financially and in your personal social life. I mean, I remember it was pretty traumatic for me as a financial advisor, who got into that business because financial security is such an important part of. It's kind of hardwired into me in helping people achieve their financial security, so that when you're divorced and half your net income goes away, it can be challenging. So one habit stack on the financial side that I found was to keep track. You're not going to recover overnight, but by measuring your growth slowly over time, like you would getting on a scale, perhaps to measure physical goals, is keep track of your net worth. Because I found that, net worth consists of the assets that you have minus the liabilities or debts that you've got equals your net worth. And if you can chip away at that gradually over time, it'll create, a sense of accomplishment, and lead you on that path towards financial recovery. I found that was a tremendous tool for me.
Amazing.
And then, yeah, that worked very well. And just the diet and exercise, that led me to quit some bad habits. I mean, I had quit smoking already by 2016, 2017, but I was still vaping. And I thought, this
it's
probably
the same.
yeah, okay. I'm not going to argue. Probably it's not a good thing anyway. We can agree on that. And so I just, as of 2019, it was October 2019, just gave up inhaling other than air. Just
well done.
Air.
Well done.
So, and obviously, there are other bad habits people can have that, once you get on the virtuous circle of developing one or two good habits, some of the bad habits can fall by the wayside, hopefully.
Definitely. So, okay, that's all the habits and mindset and mindfulness, which I think is super, super important. But talking about more maybe the positive and negative implications of this increased rate of divorce among the older population, can you shed some light on some of the positives and maybe even some of the negatives?
Right. Well, in terms of positives, I mean, I'd like to say at the outset that I'm not pro-divorce. I'm pro-relationship. And so because I don't know how many studies have shown that a happy life is founded principally on social relationships, not money. And of course, this is another issue altogether. But so I would say, from a positive aspect, as I mentioned a minute ago, you can emerge from divorce. Divorce is not the end; it can be the start of a new beginning. So that's the positive. Is that and this has certainly been my case in terms of reinventing myself and getting out of my head, looking to others, looking to give a little bit more, be a little less selfish, and it just came naturally. So that's a positive development. And it's I think it's good that people who are living a purposeful, healthy life just contribute more to society. Being your best self isn't just a selfish goal, to unleash the dragon within, like Anthony Robbins might say. I think it was Marianne Williamson said something very profound on this, is that being your best version of yourself is not just good for you, it's good for the people around you and society as a whole, because you're in doing so, you're likely contributing to the world. So, that's kind of the positive. Negatives, there is, I mentioned the economic. It was an excellent book. I think the lady's name was Jocelyn Crowley, wrote a book on Grey Divorce, and she spoke about the economic penalty and the social penalty of Grey Divorce. And I think she was correct in stating that the economic penalty, more often than not, hits women more than men, because a woman who's over 50 or even in her 60s and 70s may have given up a career to raise children, may not be being paid as much as a man if she is working, and so and also the income prospects for somebody who's 50 or 60 or whatever, even older, getting back into the workforce or developing in the workforce are a little bit more difficult than they are for somebody who's 20 or 30 years of age. It's a form of discrimination that strangely seems still acceptable in this society, is ageism.
Yes.
And unfortunately, older people have a tremendous amount to give, and that can be a problem in particularly more so for women, although men certainly have economic concerns as well. But the economic question hits harder on the women's side. Also, with respect to health insurance, the wife may be on her husband's health insurance plan, and so while COBRA exists to continue on a plan that's limited in time for 3 years, and there's the Affordable Care Act, but ultimately that still may be more expensive a health program certainly than continuing on an existing plan. I mean, the fact of divorce in general, not just gray divorce, is that when a couple split up, one household is becoming two. So it's certainly at the outset after divorce, neither party is going to experience a higher standard of living.
Yeah.
It's a very rare situation because you've had to create two new households. So there's that economic question, which tends to be more of a concern for women. But for men, particularly in gray divorce, because we tend to get a little bit more set in our ways as we get older, men, the gray divorce penalty for men is the lack of a social network, because quite often the wife is the one arranging the get-togethers with friends, dinner parties, and the wife, the mother, let's say mother, may often have stronger bond, obviously maternal bond, with the adult children. So many times an older man, middle-aged or older man, may experience loneliness to a greater degree than the woman. Now, once again, these aren't exclusive. Women experience loneliness as well, but in terms of relative concerns, generally you tend to see the economic concerns being a little higher on the female side, and the social concerns being a little higher on the male side. And it's interesting because women typically, I think somewhere between 62 to 68% of gray divorces are initiated by women. And of course, you can break down the statistics. One would imagine that these are probably situations where women are initiating the divorce because they feel confident economically, or in the sad situation where it's a question of abuse or addiction, where they just have to get out of the marriage.
Okay, very interesting. This has been extremely interesting, actually. A lot of insights. I want to ask you just one more question, if that's
sure.
Okay. What would be your one message for the listeners today? I would like to say the listeners that are right now going through this, they're in this stage right now. What is your one message that you could just, if they were sitting in front of you right now physically, what is your one message for them?
I would suppose, can I give two messages?
Yes, two.
Is speak to professionals. And there's also speak to professionals or get advice from publicly available professional knowledge. So that's the beauty of the internet, is that professionals such as myself offer a lot of free advice on the internet. So both in terms of family law attorneys, divorce financial analysts handling the money side, and therapists.
What's your website? For someone who maybe doesn't get to the show notes, what's your website again, please?
My website is transcendretirement.net. And for essentially the financials after divorce, Wiser Divorce Solutions is the name of my divorce advisory.
Okay, amazing.
Practice.
Continue with your second message.
The second message, probably, there is life after divorce, and you can have an extremely strong second act. It's the cliche. It used to be 40 is the new 30, then it was 50 is the new 40. I think in some circles we're seeing 60 is the new 50. But you've got a lot of time to live, and even if you're much older, just live in the present, take advantage of what you can do to live your best life. And emerging from gray divorce gives you an opportunity to kind of reset yourself and get out of your head a little bit, and realize that a happy, contented life is really mainly about relationships, And if your money can serve as a foundation for building a life of relationships and purpose, then you're using your money in a good way. Not being concerned about what your neighbors or car they're driving or what kind of house they're living in. Nobody on their deathbed ever said, I wish I'd spent more time in the office, or I wish I'd bought that Aston Martin.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Thank you, Andrew. I think someone maybe needed to possibly hear that message today. So thank you. This has been wonderful and insightful, and I'm sure everyone listening will tune into the next episode. But for now, I think we're done, unless you have anything else to add.
No, I think that's good. I think we left people with quite a few messages today. So hopefully listeners, viewers found it entertaining and educational and informative, and hopefully a little bit inspiring.
Definitely. So thank you, everyone, and goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Grey Divorce Podcast. To learn more or get in contact with your host, you can visit Andrew's website at transcendretirement.net. Also, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Information provided is educational only and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Each situation is unique and should be discussed with your tax or legal advisor prior to implementation. Andrew Hatherley is not an attorney and does not provide legal advice. Information provided is financial in nature. Advisory services offered through Hatherley Capital Management, LLC. Divorce financial analysis services offered through Wiser Divorce Solutions, an affiliated company.